Hey guys, welcome to this video series. In this series, I will be showing you how to create a headless WordPress website. And essentially what that means is the website backend data and content is all going to be created through WordPress backend, but the front end is going to be completely separate as far as the design and the theme goes. So this will really unrestrict us from using any WordPress templates or any complicated PHP code or anything like that. So it gives us a good opportunity to create JavaScript applications while still having your client able to change all of the content on their website using WordPress. So let's get started. In this first video, I'm going to be creating the actual WordPress backend. So very first step is going to be to download the latest version of WordPress. So I'm going to go to wordpress.org/download, click download WordPress, and save it wherever you like. Open up the file. Alright, and so here you go. We have our freshly downloaded WordPress file. We're going to go ahead and rename this to Headless Blog. So now what we need to do is we need to set up a server to run our WordPress website. So I'm going to be using MAMP. You can use whatever you like. This is just the easiest for me to set this up. You can just Google MAMP and download it real quick. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the document root to run in our new blog. Select, OK, start the servers. Okay, and if it doesn't automatically load the map starting page, that's fine. It'll take you to localhost 8888, or you can, I believe you could change the port. Yeah, you can change the port if you want it on something else, but by default it's 8888. And so if you go here, this will be the default WordPress setup. So before we do this, we actually have to create the table or the database in our server. So if you go back to localhost 8888 and we go to /php myadmin, we're going to add a new database and we're going to call this headless blog. Create. Okay. And now we have created our database. We don't need to create any tables. WordPress will do that. So now if we go back to localhost 8888, we can set up our WordPress site. So we'll go through the setup. And the database name is going to be Headless Blog. The username, the default one for MAMP is root, as well as the password. And submit. Run the install. Alright, so Headless Blog. This stuff really doesn't matter too much on the local host. I'm just going to put in some very weak passwords. And put an email address in here. And actually, you're going to, even though it's localhost, when you move this site over to your production, you don't want your search engines indexing this site because this is only going to be used for the admin. So this is actually going to be on a subdomain or a separate domain altogether than where your actual site is going to be hosted. So very important to note that your backend, your WordPress backend, is a completely different website than your actual front-end website. So you don't want this to be indexed on search engines. So we're going to install it. And we're going to log in. Oops. Okay, and so by default, the latest version of WordPress has the Headless API already installed. So if we go to slash or dash JSON. This will show us all of the data of our website, of our WordPress site, and this is essentially the data we're going to use for single page applications with JavaScript. But there's a few steps we need to do in order to make this a little bit better. So the first thing is we want to be able to create custom post types. So you see how we have posts right here. Now theoretically we could create our entire site using different posts and using different categories and sorting through all of that. But there's a much easier way to do this. So we're going to go ahead and install a plugin. I'm just going to go to add new. And we're going to search for custom post type UI. Install it. Activate it. Alright, so let me show you an example of why you would want to use this. Let's say you want to add, let's say this is a website where, a portfolio website where you're showing off all of your projects that you've done. So you would want to create a whole section just for your projects. So we're going to say type slug is projects, plural, projects, singular, project. Now there's a couple, you can mess with all these if you want. It really doesn't matter too much. This is just what you see in the back end here. So if you are designing this for a client, you may want to look through here and make sure it's all set. But really there's two things you want to make sure. You want to make sure show in REST API is set to true. And then you want to set the base slug to be projects. And if you just search for REST, it'll be the first thing that shows up. Alright, so we're going to scroll all the way to the bottom and hit add post type. Okay. So now let's go ahead and add a project. So we'll say web dev profesh, and we'll say this is my YouTube channel, and we'll set I don't really have a featured image, so we'll leave that blank right now, and we'll go ahead and do publish. Okay. So now if we go to the endpoint and we go to /wp/v2/ and then this is going to be the slug name that we just set in the settings when we created that custom post type. So if we say /projects, this is the data of all of our posts that are projects. And just to make this a little readable, I'll go to unminify.com, unminify, and we can kind of see how this looks. So basically it gives you the ID of the post, the date, the link, the actual WordPress link. You probably will never use this because you don't want them to actually go to the WordPress site. It gives you the title right here, title rendered. It gives you the content. This is what you actually put in the body. Where is it? Right here. This is where the content shows up. And you can put all kinds of HTML in there. So you can put formatted. You can add plugins to format this better and add Bootstrap in there and all kinds of things, and that'll show up in here, which is nice. And then it gives you the featured media. This is just the ID of the, let me just put a featured image here. Let me find one real quick. Okay, so I'm just going to put in the logo, set featured image, update it. And then go back to JSON/wp.v2/projects. Go ahead and copy that again. Unminify it. Let's see if we can find that media. Okay, and so you can see featured media is 5, and that's just the ID of the media file. And I'll show you in a second how to actually get the source code of that media. You can see it's right here, but we don't actually have access to the small, large, or any of the actual other details, such as the alt tag of the picture or anything like that. So I'll show you in a second how to render that a little bit better. But for now, the next step would be to create custom fields. So let's say on your projects you want to add something like the stack that you use to create the website, or you want to put the date that you created the website or the date that you were creating the website. So to do that, we need to add another plugin, and this is going to be called Advanced Custom Fields. So we're going to add a new one. And it's not this one, it's not the Font Awesome field, it's this one. The one that has over 1 million installs. Go ahead and activate it. And so we're going to add a custom field, create a new one. And these custom fields are going to be specifically for the project. So we'll just call it projects. And before we actually add them, let's set the rule to only show this custom field if the post type is projects. Okay, and we're going to add a field, and we're going to call this stack. And this is just going to be a text field, but you can add all kinds of different fields in here. And so, like, you know, if you want to add an email or a number, a specific number, you can do that. Or even do like select or choice options too. These are really convenient. So if you want to say, you know, is it mobile friendly, and you have a true or false button, that way you can easily see if it's mobile friendly by the true or false value. But for now, we're just going to use text, and you can put in field instructions to give, and this is essentially giving instructions right next to the field telling them what this is. So we'll just say, and this is not mandatory at all, but if you are creating this for a client, then you probably want to put this in. List tag stack. Required, you can set it to required or not. In this case, we're not going to make it required. That way we can decide later if it's filled in, then show it. If not, then don't. Okay, leave all of that. Go ahead and add another field, and this field is going to be the date created. And then we're going to actually set this to be the jQuery date picker. Okay, and then we're just going to go to the top and go to publish. So now if we go to our projects and we go into this one, we will see the stack and the date created. So we'll go ahead and say Laravel, and we'll set the date. Let's just say I did it today, which is a lie, but I will go ahead and update that. And now if you check back to that JSON data, /wp/v2/projects, I can minify this if you like, but I'm telling you right now, those custom fields are not going to be seen. Nowhere in here is any of the data we just added, and that's kind of a problem. Luckily, there's a great solution, which is another plugin. I know this is a very plugin heavy solution, but since all the plugins are strictly for the back end, it's not going to affect the front end performance, so it really doesn't matter how many plugins you put on here. It's just a matter of cleanness and messiness. As long as you keep everything organized, you'll be fine. So we're going to add another plugin called ACF to REST API. And this will basically, which one is it? It's this one. This will just make those fields accessible in our API. So now that we installed it, we activated it, if we refresh it, the JSON, you'll see there's more data in there. And if we unminify it, you'll see right here we have this field called ACF, which is the Advanced Custom Fields. And within that object we have the stack, the Laravel, and the date created, which is the date right here. Okay, and so let's see. The last thing I want to show you guys is how to create or how to get your images, your featured images, to show up a little bit better and to get them a little easier. So we're going to add another plugin, and this one's called Better REST API Featured Images. Oops. And it is the first one. Go ahead and activate it. So now if we refresh this once again, we get a whole lot more data. So if we minify this, we'll see we have this new object called Better Featured Image. And what this does is it gives you all of the details, including the width, the height, the file, the sizes. And this is what I use a lot, is the sizes, because a lot of times you don't want to load the full image. If you have clients that are uploading 3,000 pixel images, you don't want that rendering. You don't want 100 of those rendering on your website. It'll slow it down tremendously. So WordPress has a great condenser in which it automatically recreates the sizes. And so usually what I'll do is I'll say if the medium or if the large file exists, which in this case it doesn't, because the file isn't big enough for it to have a large. See how it has a medium large? If it's big enough, it'll have a large. So I'll say if it does have a large, then load the source URL from the large. If it doesn't have a large, then just use the source URL overall, which will just be the normal full size rendered. Okay? Alright, so that's pretty much everything you need to know in order to set up your Headless WordPress backend to send all of your data to wherever it is you might want to get it. So check out the next video, which I'll be releasing soon, which will show how to take this data and create a website out of it. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next video. By the way, if you guys want to learn more about all the different endpoints you can use to call data in your Headless WordPress application, just head over to developer.wordpress.org/rest-api, and this is basically everything you need to know about the backend and connecting to it and grabbing different things. So, for example, you can pull all of your media files by using the endpoint. Does it tell you here? Yeah. So it says use this endpoint. So so for example, let's go ahead and do it here. So we'll copy that, and this is just a GET request, so we can just enter it right into our browser, and it should work. And this is all of the media that we've uploaded, and so you can then filter out which media you want based on, let's see, you do it based on the source URL, based on what file, what folder you put. Maybe you want to get all the media files that were uploaded in the month of September. You could just look for the 2017/09 in the, once you get the data. You can add in all these extra parameters. So if you want to search all the media files that were uploaded by the author, let's see, do I have author in here? Author. So right now, the person who uploaded these is, the ID of the author is 1. So if we were to say author equals 1, it's going to show the same thing because there's only one author in here. But that's how you would do that. And then one caveat is that by default, WordPress will only load 10 and that's per page. So if you want to load more than 10 media items in one call, you have to use this per page parameter. So if we say question per page equals, and 100 is actually the maximum amount you can do. It kind of sucks, but it's understandable because you really don't want to be loading more than 100 images on your site at once. And so this is going to show the same thing because obviously there aren't 100 images in here. But if you do need to load more than 100 images, which I have done in the past, you actually need to load multiple requests. So the first request is going to be just like this, and then the second request is you're going to add another parameter. So you're going to say and page equals to, and page 2 would give you the next 100 queries. Now obviously there aren't that many query or entries here, but if we say per page, we just say 1. Right now I have 2. Okay. Well, if you have more than 100 and you say per page 100 and page equals 2, it's going to load the next 100 images. Okay, so I encourage you to go through this. I wouldn't say go through every single part of this documentation, but when you need it, when you need to load certain things, look in here. It's very good documentation and I can't recommend it more. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.